I'm William Steyn. I live in Hokitika, which is here on the South Island of, well, the west coast of the South Island of New Zealand. I go to the beach and I pick up rocks and I paint things on them, and this is my studio. Nice people from all over the globe come here and they buy them from me and go away, and we have nice chats, and that's more or less what I do. Yeah. Ooh, I did a fine arts degree many years ago in the 70s in South Africa at the University of Pretoria in information design, which is I suppose applied graphic design, and then worked in advertising for a short while and also for book publishers, and did a bit of illustration work, and I taught a little bit at tertiary level back there. I love order, taking something which is sort of a bit worthless and turning it into something which has some value, whatever that value is. I think aesthetics in the end is all about order. It's about creating beauty through repetition, through contrast and colors and materials and that sort of stuff. I think painting on rock in a way is as ancient as the human race. What we do know is that tens of thousands of years ago, before we had buildings and walls to paint on, and subsequently paper and canvas and board, and so we had rock face, so that's what we did. So I suppose walking on a beach here and seeing the beautiful material here in a way is sort of a natural response. I did grow up on a farm on the edge of the Kalahari Desert, my grandfather's farm, where there's San Bushman paintings and engravings. I don't know that consciously that influenced me as such, but I suppose I did grow up knowing that if they're rocks, people do things on them, in a way.
Like New Zealand.
Because it's the furthest place from God's earth.
Well, yeah, but also because everything is close together, comparison.
I think if you asked me that 20 years ago, I might have had a lot to ramble on about. I think one of the slightly humbling realities of growing older is that you sort of get to a point, I don't know, I can't speak for others, but yeah, you get to a point where you think, all these truths and all these are just highly personalized interpretations of meaning and value, and quite frankly, what I tend to value at this stage, I don't think necessarily has great kind of universal value. So saying that, I suppose there are a few values which we all strive for, and it probably has to do with just, gosh, this stuff easily turns very kitsch. Just being kind and trying to be sort of as good as as you can. I don't know that I can. I don't know that I can make a difference to anything really, other than I suppose in the end the greatest thing that we all can do is to find out what we are good at and try and do that as well we can. Yeah. You know, we had my wife and I had a little boy who we lost he was 3.5 years old, and to just a disease condition, and a few months after his passing, my wife really decided we should do something other than just carry on making as if nothing has happened and living the same life. So we sold our house and we took our little girl, who was then a 2-year-old. We bought air tickets to New Zealand. En route, spent 4 days in Singapore actually. It got very nice and hot and lovely, and did the tourist thing there, and then came to New Zealand, and yeah, sort of took it from there. It's a while ago now, yeah. So yeah, it was sort of a gradual decision to move here. That was 19 years ago, yeah. Time flies. You know, I suppose the nature of change is of such, I think one is not always aware of the changes that you are living through or that you bring about, even because they're incremental. They happen in little bits at a time. You know, it's a bit like looking at the photograph that you took of yourself or your family or your partner or whatever 20 years ago, and you look at it and you think, really, I was there. That was then. That was a different era. People looked differently. They they sounded differently. They certainly had different hairstyles. So yeah, I don't think change is something which we really consciously strive towards or anything like that. I think it just happens and we just react to it in a way. If you look at the globe and the tectonic plate movement and so on, 600 million years ago, the world looked so different, and 300-400 years ago, and in 100 million years from now, it again will look very different. It will, our precious national borders and so will be, the globe will laugh at it because it's rearranging as we speak. In fact, this land is quite a new, what's the word? A new kind of pushed up piece of real estate. This is, we on the Ring of Fire here, and this will change. We live very close to a huge fault line here where big earthquakes happen all the time. They reckon we overdue for the big 500-year shake, and that'll happen, and it'll happen again for millions and millions of years. And so change, I'm afraid, is not always comfortable, but it'll be a bit boring without it.
Shape of a heart.
That's probably the closest. I don't pretend to be an artist. These are little products which I suppose in a very limited way draws on the same skill set, but it's not about innovating all the time. It's basically having come up with and I think that's often the difference between art and craft. Craft is a technical expression of the same sort of aesthetic ideas, but it's about making little objects which do not set out to change the world. Whereas I think with art proper, at least the intention should be to make something which has a bit more of a message and a power accordingly. So yeah, these are not about to change the world in any way. Yeah. You know, I can only do this as long as I'm not shaking, for instance. I often have people asking me about shaking, and then I think, oh gosh, obviously this is in one's future. The thing with getting older is nobody tells you that you get to a point where this happens or that happens. So I think I'll just keep on doing this till, I don't know, either I go blind or I go too shaky or so. And having made it into a business, focusing on tourists, I need to produce, you know, and in a way coming up with the designs is fine and well and wonderful, but in the end it's about production. And once you've got something that works, you've got to keep on what's the word, just producing and making sure that you've got stock. The way I suppose the world works now is, you know, people go away and they write tour guides and stuff, and the next moment, you know, it's happened on occasion that all of a sudden there are lots of Malaysians coming in showing me this guidebook which mentions my studio. Now, when the author of those books go around, they don't introduce themselves. They don't come up to you and say, listen, I'm working on Lonely Planet or whatever. They just go away, and the next moment there's 3 lines somewhere, and it draws a lot of people. But you've got to sort of keep on delivering in a way too. One of the great joys of running my studio like this is I meet a heck of a lot of people from pretty much all over, I suppose mostly the first world and the developing world, but it's fascinating. It's wonderful. I meet on an annual basis tens of thousands of people that I talk with, and it's just really nice. It gives you a sense of just the complexity of the whole place and the simplicity concurrently of this place we call the earth. You know, we're all very different and very similar, and that's really, really nice to experience. This little town is pretty much the edge of the universe. You know, this is not en route anywhere. It's if you go any further, you fall off the bottom of the earth just about. Yet I meet people from Beijing to Buenos Aires and everywhere in between, and that's really nice. I thrive on that, and I think if I get to a point where I need to sit at home only and tend the bonsai, I will be very sad missing that. Yeah. So yeah, I'm obsessive enough to, I suppose, make it work. It's fairly repetitive work, but because it's self-imposed, I've got nobody to be angry with, which makes life very simple. And it makes for a fairly interesting day. Most days I meet people from literally all over the globe, and it's a nice way to spend a day in a place which potentially could have been very isolating. You know, this is tiny. It's a tiny little town in a tiny region in a tiny country in a very isolated spot on earth. So yeah, this is it's one way of dealing with that, and I enjoy that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.